Hey everybody, welcome back to week 14 of our weekly trade watch list. This series is specifically focused on selling options to supplement your income. If you are in the same boat as me where I don't have time Monday to Friday to sit in front of a laptop, then this series is going to be very helpful. In these videos, we talk about what are our trade plans for the next week, and I also share with you my trade results from the previous week. So everything is transparent. You can save this watch list and go over my previous weeks to see all the screenshots for the trades that I have posted. And if you find any value from this content, consider subscribing. This trade watch list is applicable for September 25th to September 29th. So in today's video, we are going to cover everything that happened last week. We'll talk about my trade update and what am I watching next week. Now, if you stay around till the end of the video, I'm also going to talk about the mindset of how you should approach option selling. These are my tips and tricks that may help you become a better options trader. So without further ado, let's dive in. Now, starting off with S&P 500 performance, every single stock was down for the week. Now, why did this happen? This happened specifically right after Jerome Powell spoke, where they did not raise the interest rate. They were dovish in the action, but they were hawkish in their tone. Now, this happened because markets were expecting 3 to 4 rate cuts next year. However, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen, and that percentage has gone down. Even at the monthly level, you have stocks like Nvidia that are down almost 10%. Apple is down 2%. Google has been flat for the month. But what is more important to note that general average S&P performance by month since 1945 data, it shows that September has generally been a pretty weak month. They have returned minus 0.6%. From an earnings perspective, you have Costco reporting earnings on Tuesday after close, Micron on Wednesday after close, and Thursday you have Nike after close. Last week, we planned 3 trades. We had AMD, Square, and Shopify. Let's start off with AMD. During the week, we had our options contract open for expiration September 22. We were down 108%. That when we rolled our contract the week prior for 22nd September, we got $2.23 on the contract. So multiplied by 100 shares, you had $223. However, at the time of the trading, the contract price was giving you $4.65. So that's the reason we were down $241, which is 108.23%. If you saw my video from last week, the way we managed our trade was we initially opened our first put for AMD at $102. When we opened that was supposed to expire on September 15th, and we got $69. This is what we got. The stock has been falling down since we opened that put. So what we ended up doing last week was we rolled that contract. We had to pay $53, but we received $223 for rolling the contract a week later. What happened during the week was AMD broke through the trend line, and now AMD is below its 20-day, 50-day SMA, and they are very close to their 200-day SMA. Now, that generally is a bearish sign, especially for the long term when the stock price hits below its 200-day SMA. So on September 21st, I took an advantage of rolling the contract 2 weeks out. We had to pay $597, but we received $694. So overall, we had a gain by rolling the contract. And here's the consolidated results for AMD. We have so far made $970.89 since we have been running puts on AMD for last 9 weeks in a row. The second stock idea was on Square, but we did not take a trade on Square. The reason primarily was you can see the Square has been trending downwards. It is below all its major moving averages. We had initially drawn our support at 53.53, and you can see it broke through it last week. And the only premise that we had that we will enter in a trade if Square can find its support back, it can bounce off from that support. It rejected that, and that's the reason we did not take that trade. The stock is in a free fall, and generally when a stock has not found its support, you shouldn't be opening any trades at that point in time. So we'll see how Square will play in the coming weeks or so. The third stock idea was on Shopify, and unfortunately in Shopify, as you can see, we had this major gap again because of the whole Jerome Powell speaking and sounding very hawkish, and market had to readjust its expectations. Right now, Shopify is also at its a very critical level where they are very close to their 200-day moving average, just like AMD. What to watch out for next week? Now, the first thing on AMD, if you are trading AMD on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, couple couple things that you need to watch next week. Number one is AMD made this major gap over here. We want to see if it can fill that gap next week. Number two, just like Shopify, AMD stock is right near its 200-day SMA. It is a very, very bearish signal. If the stock price falls below its 200-day moving average, we could see the stock trending bearish. That is something you need to watch as well. Number three, the RSI is hitting its rock bottom. It's like very close to the 30, which is in the oversold territory. I wouldn't get into the trade until we see a bounce off from 200-day SMA. And if that happens, I might be tempted to open another cash secured put for AMD. The second trade idea is around the ExxonMobil. I love energy stocks, and ExxonMobil is one of the best stocks that you can own if you like oil and energy. The stock price is closing to its near 20-day moving average. I would target somewhere around the 20-day moving average, which is about 114. So for ExxonMobil, I will switch to a 2-week strategy. The reason is because I want to collect the premium and I also want to protect myself from the downward pressure. I would target the 111 or 112 2 weeks out, which has a delta of 26 or 21. So at 112 and 111, you still see a decent amount of open interest. We'll get about 0.90 to 0.97. So about, you can say 95 cents you can probably get on this trade. So I will keep watching ExxonMobil as part of next week's trade idea as well. Here are some of my tips when you're selling options. First, every single trade before you get into, you need to identify what do you want from that trade. Is it for income generation or is it to add to your long-term portfolio? Because based on your objective, you will select the type of delta. So for example, if you want to buy stocks for your long-term portfolio and you want to use cash secured put as an option, you might want to do an aggressive delta so you can buy the stock for your long-term portfolio. So you may look at maybe 35, 40 delta so that you can end up getting the stock assigned, get a decent premium, lower your cost basis and add to your long-term position. In the case of income generation, you can look at deltas around the 30 or 35 so that you may or may not get assigned every single week, and you can continue this cycle as long as possible until the stock breaks away from its current trend. Tip number 2 is when you're selling options, always sell options for the stocks that you want to own in your portfolio for long term. Because when the market goes against you, just like it did last week for us in AMD, and if you get assigned, you don't mind owning those stocks. So that is very key. Tip number 3 is very stock specific. I love Tesla stock, especially when I'm selling options, because Tesla stock has a very high beta. I think billing it's 1.52 or something like that. When you have a high beta stock and you have a great company like Tesla, what ends up happening is people tend to pay more premium to your options contract. So if you become a seller of Tesla options, you end up collecting hefty premium week after week, month after month, year after year. So what I generally do is I always tend to run multiple Tesla contracts at different time intervals. If you have the capital to do that, you might want to look at Tesla. So those were my 3 tips from my personal experience that I have seen over the years that have panned out for me becoming a good option seller. I will continue to learn and I will continue to share my journey with you. Let me know in the comments which stocks are you selling options on. I would love to get more ideas on. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like, click on subscribe and ring the bell notification. I will see you next time, investor family, but don't forget to invest for tomorrow.